evening and welcome to the Bay St. Louis Planning and Zoning meeting of July 26, 2022. We ask that you please silence all cell phones and electronics at this time. We're going to begin with a short prayer and the pledge. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Father in heaven, we invite you to preside over this meeting. Give us unity of spirit even when our opinions differ. Help us to listen politely to other points of view and to remember that we are all a part of the same community. Direct our thoughts, words, decisions, and actions toward the right path in the best interest of our city. We ask this in your name. Amen. First agenda item tonight is B&W Home Builders, LLC. Application for variance to the zoning ordinance submitted by B&W Home Builders, LLC. The applicant is planning on constructing a dwelling on the property. The applicant is requesting a variance of 10 feet, resulting in a 15-foot setback to the front yard. The property is located at 4150 17th Street, parcel 138C-0-47-367.000, 25 and 26 REL subdivision. The property is zoned R1A, residential single-family district. Is the applicant here to speak tonight? Well, the issue is we had this last meeting last month, and I believe it was misadvertised, so they had to come back again, and maybe they got the wrong date. So we'll go ahead and make a motion to table it for them on next month's meeting.
I'll make a motion to table it.
Motion by Mr. Weber, second by Mr. Romano. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. We'll move on to the next agenda item, which is Pellegrin. Application for special use district submitted by Carrie Pellegrin. The applicant is requesting approval for a special use district to be allowed to conduct business as an event venue, bed and breakfast, restaurant, retail, guest cottages, accommodations, single family, and multifamily. The property is located at 1016 Blue Meadow Road, parcel 137B-1-42-021.000, First Ward, 534C and 535B, BSL. The property is zoned R1 Single Family District. Would you like to come and state your name and address for us for the record, and then tell us more about your project? Yes. I did receive your letter. If you want me to read it in the minutes, I can.
That'd be great, yes. And I'd just like to make sure, too, that everybody knows that it's 6.8 acres. So I know it's noted in our packet, but I just want the audience to know that as well. Carrie Pellegrin with the Wedding Collection. Address is 222 North Beach Boulevard, Bay St. Louis. And we are under contract to purchase a property right past Hollywood Casino Boulevard. The property is 6.8 acres. Currently, it is buffered by all of the Hollywood Casino's buffer land that they purchased when they built the casino. Right next door to this property, which is 1020 Blue Meadow Road, is also about a half an acre that we have just gotten under contract for a permanent residence for my husband and I. So versus being on this property, we'll actually live right next door. We're scheduled to go to closing on that in October. So the project is, so the Wedding Collection has been in Bay St. Louis for about 4 years now. The one thing that we have been really missing outside of what we currently do is a place to host weddings. Our clients call probably at least weekly, if not daily, for a grass lawn in Bay St. Louis with no structure, just something that they can feel like they're in a backyard and get married and host their wedding. So this is the property that we have found over the last 3.5 years, 4 years. We've been looking for the perfect property. This one has the aesthetic that the client's looking for, but it also allows us to do a little bit more of a growth opportunity for the community. So outside of just hosting weddings, we'd like to make sure that in the chart of uses, we go ahead and list the things that we anticipate happening over the next few years. The number one priority for us is to be able to start hosting the weddings there after clearing the land and just hosting tent weddings just like we do down at the harbor deck, because that's what the clients are really asking for that we don't currently have. One of the other things I'd like to note, in all of the coast, we are the only county that does not have a grass lawn wedding venue. that is strictly grass lawn. So right now we have clients that we're having to host weddings for them in other counties and other cities because we can't offer them that here. Everything is zoned residential of what they're wanting. So this is the first property that we've been able to find that we think accommodates what we need, what the client wants, but also is in a location that won't disturb the community. So I'll just pause there and let you read the letter, or I can read it, whichever you prefer.
Dear Commissioners and Councilmen, I am the owner-operator of the Wedding Collection, LLC, a full-service bridal experience, offering our clients everything wedding-related from the planning to the dress. The one platform that I am truly missing in our business model is a wedding venue and guest accommodations in 1016 Blue Meadow Road, Bay St. Louis, is a property that would be a dream to host weddings and other city community events on. This letter is to inform the Commissioners and community of our request and intent for the property. Please find attached application, list of documents, and scaled exhibits as it relates to our request. The property is 6.8 acres and would allow for our phase 1 through 5 plans and still allow for tree landscape buffering of the property. Our request for this R1 zone property is a special use district to allow for our business, the Wedding Collection, and owner Carrie and Kevin Pellegrin to have a chart of uses for a wedding event venue no larger than 6,000 square feet, guest cottages, accommodations of 500 square foot minimum, a bed and breakfast, boutique hotel, retail, dining, and a private residence with garage on the property. This property abuts the Hollywood Casino buffer land and is located 3 lots past Hollywood Boulevard. The attached planning map outlines the location of the phase 1 through 5 plan builds in reference to the property, leaving a buffer of mature trees between neighboring lots. Hancock County currently does not have grass, lawn, oak tree venue, the only county on the Gulf Coast without one, and with our request of a special use district for the noted property, this would fill this void not only in Bay St. Louis, but also in Hancock County, giving our community another reason for BSL to become their destination choice. In phase 1 and 2 would bring the celebration of through our vision of the grass lawn hotel type wedding venue, the Liza Line. Outside of being a wedding venue, we want this property to be a community center to host graduations, nonprofit galas, school and community events, Mardi Gras balls, and other for-profit events, etc., and most of bring life in a tucked-away resort type environment. The Wedding Collection has built a recognizable name as the premium wedding experts on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Since our opening in 2018, we have grown from a husband and wife owned, operated business into a multi-location with over 12 employees and growing brand. We work hard to bring community involved and support. We work hard to be community involved and support local charities while continuing to be hands-on operators and create the most magical weddings on the coast. We have built amazing relationships with local businesses and vendor partners, generating revenue for not only the wedding industry but also tourism. We know our vision of having a wedding venue and guest accommodations would not only bring additional jobs to Bay St. Louis, it would also become the wedding destination for locals, but also for non-coastal clients. Weddings are the most intimate form of celebration, and the Wedding Collection does the most perfect execution and managing of this. We understand that asking for a special use district approval on this R1 property could be concerning for the community neighboring properties, so I'd like to assure our neighbors that this venture is not short-lived. It is not a new company moving in. We are not a developer looking to change Bay St. Louis or the integrity of our beautiful community or this property. We are not owners that take that lightly. We are hands-on and very service-driven owners. Our plans for this property will enhance the landscape and maintain daily. We are owners that are everyday client-facing. We are owners that will be living on this property and handling the day-to-day operations. In short, we love this property, and it's not just a monetary development. The Wedding Collection will own the property, but it will also be our personal home, and we'll own the responsibilities and daily assurance that our neighboring properties appreciate our being there. The Wedding Collection is known for service, making spaces and unusable landscapes beautiful for weddings, and we hope the community will appreciate our diligence to bring the same standard to 1016 Blue Meadow Road, which we will call the Liza Line. We want to keep the integrity of the property and thus are not asking for a rezoning to commercial. We will listen to the community and neighbors on how to make this project doable without concern by making decisions on the site locations, having valet to manage the parking on site, being very thoughtful of where we locate the electric needs for music to be located on the furthest side of the neighboring properties, being on site managing from the beginning to the end of every wedding or event that takes place on the property, keeping the the integrity of our building and landscape to match the Southern Coast designs of our coastal community, and most of all being the good neighbor outside of hosting wedding and guest stays. My husband Kevin and I hope you see the value we can bring as a patron, resident, and business owner with our vision for this property. Weddings are the most magical celebrations, and we adore getting to work in this industry every day. Our vision for this oak-covered property is what our clients want, and it currently does not exist in Hancock County. We ask that you consider our request for the special use district, not only for the community, but also for the recognition the city will have for being a wedding destination. Thank you in advance for your support and time in reviewing our plans. We look forward to hosting the first wedding in Bay St. Louis at the finest event venue in Mississippi. Sincerely, Kevin and Carrie Pellegrin, owner and operators of the Wedding Collection.
Man, you reading that loud, it was really long. I'm a little passionate if you can't tell.
I just had a couple first things that stuck out to me. I was wondering about the need for retail. Is that will you be selling dresses on site? What kind of
Yeah, so I think
retail needs?
the goal for this is that I am a very dream-oriented person, and I don't like to put myself in a box and not give myself opportunity to grow. So the retail was a suggestion to go ahead and put that in the chart of uses in the instance that we did have a hotel and we wanted to put a boutique in the bottom of it, kind of like the Pearl, and sell T-shirts and all caps. So at this moment, we just renewed our 5-year lease on our dress shop, and the boutique that we just opened downtown is 5 years, and our planning office is being built. So right now, all of our current buildings we have a 5-year lease on. So we won't anticipate putting any retail immediately, but if we do, it's going to be very focused on resort type of either ready to wear or hotel type of souvenir things.
What will be your elevation out?
So the part of the property that we anticipate, there's a current home on there that's been there since before the Civil War. Above that or right in that area is 9 feet. So the elevation for there would have to be 4 feet if we decided to build up in certain parts of the property. That's why we really want to make sure that we host this as just a grass lawn with tented weddings for probably the first year and a half, to anticipate what part of the property clients are really loving, and then also to really give me time to do the due diligence of making sure that before we make any drastic building moves, that I'm doing it in the right spot on the property. But currently, we're going to have the venue right where the current structure is, and I call venue, it's going to be a concrete pad just like the harbor deck is, and it's surrounded by oak trees. So we're just going to take the existing structure, keep the wood from that 1800s home, and just put a concrete pad down. So the only landscape that will be changing is there's pine trees that make like a circle around that piece of the property, and it basically just opens it up to show more of the oak tree. But that's pretty much all we anticipate doing at the very beginning. In the next probably 18 months is when I would come back and put together a full site plan and show this is where we anticipate everything happening. For now, we're going to treat it just like we do the harbor deck. Bring in the restroom trailers on a Friday, they leave on a Monday. We'll have permanent electricity and permanent water, but other than that, we're not going to be building anything instantly.
Any comments or questions from the commissioners?
Yes, I mean, I'm looking at this and it says you want to create a special use district that allows you to have a bed and breakfast, restaurant, retail, guest cottages and accommodation, single family, multifamily. It sounds like you're trying to create a city within the city of Bay St. Louis. I mean,
So my original plan is just a wedding venue and guest cottages.
yeah, but if we give you carte blanche for everything that you're asking in here,
It's like a resort is basically what it would be.
I can't support it.
And I'm happy to reword that. That was just the recommendations from the city that I met with, and just some guidance on if we're asking for a special use district, go ahead and ask for anything that we can anticipate. I don't ever anticipate being a restaurant owner. I have no desire to do that. Retail I love. It's what we do currently. The hotel bed and breakfast, it would be very boutique. We're talking 6 rooms, and that would probably be a 5 to 6 year down the road before I even start anticipating that. Really the main thing for us is just being able to have a place to host our guests, our client weddings. But like I said, if we need to adjust the wording and take some of those things out that the commissioners are not comfortable with, I'm definitely happy to do that. Because that's not my aspirations. It's just in there in the instance that in 10 years we still want to grow on this property, it's at least noted that it's something that we could potentially do.
But right now, all we're just doing is looking at just
Phase 1 through
phase
5.
one, so they're not gonna, if there's any building, right, Doug? If there's any building or something, they have to come back and get.
Mhm.
Because see, Jeremy's not here, so I'm pointing to you. Can you answer for me, please? Doug is councilman in our area, Bay St. Louis, so that's why I'm asking Doug.
So, process, right now they're asking for a special exception, special use district. From there, it'd have to go through site plans. One question, you talked about getting power on site. Without a primary structure, you cannot get power on site.
So there's power currently.
Okay, but it will, once your primary structure leaves, I'm not sure how you will get power on site.
Yeah,
If
but
you
are
leave
you
it,
tearing down
you
that
have to
structure?
leave it, right? But without a primary structure, you cannot have power.
Okay.
So you gotta figure that out, right?
Okay.
Because you just don't wanna have lots of power poles and people pull up to them, that's the premise. So you gotta have a primary structure to have power, some type of structure.
I was gonna ask that question too. I know there's a structure there back there, so I'm gonna, and it looked like it's still in decent shape,
I think it is.
right?
We're
But
getting bids to
if
see
you
what the
tear it
cost
down,
would be.
that's what I was gonna bring it, that's why I asked Mr. Duck.
Okay.
So if you tear it down, then it'd be like you putting a camper back there, and they're not gonna allow just a service pole there, so you have to have a primary structure.
Okay.
Tear it down, then you won't be able to do it. But you build something back.
Okay. So we would have to work off generators for any immediate things that we,
Um,
like for instance, Macy Scardino is getting married December 3rd, and this is the property that we have
Right.
planned her wedding around. So we,
I don't want Macy mad at me, I'm just
right.
saying.
I
you
think
know.
everybody knows Macy.
Yeah, yes,
So
we do.
for instance, this is nothing that's going to happen. I mean, obviously, just the landscaping and the clearing and the cleaning up the property is going to take me until her wedding, and the concrete pad is all we have anticipated. So I think if we can get through her wedding and in the beginning of the year, I figure out kind of our next steps and go through the process of what all those things look like. You know, I've talked to Mr. Tommy and Mr. Ricky, and so they've informed me of kind of all the steps that I have to go through, and we're comfortable and dedicated to do that. But just to kind of notate your question, Mr. Weber, in the application it says phase 1 through 5. So that's kind of what this meeting is for. So I think that might help kind of clarify.
I understand that, but in the long haul, into the future, we're giving you approval to do whatever you want on the property, and that's not the intention of the codes to give property owners that right. You need residential to begin with, and you're asking us to change it to a piece of property that you can do whatever you want on it.
We're going to open it to the audience in a minute, but I'm going to let the rest of the commissioners speak.
So initially, if you have a wedding,
Mhm.
assuming you have a restriction. So very possibly, there's not something like that.
Correct.
So to look at the property, to view the property, closeness to Hollywood is amenable to trying to get the exception. But you get a live band there, suddenly every Friday and Saturday night, changing the characteristics of the neighborhood for everybody.
I guess in short, you could say that, yes. We don't host a wedding every weekend. We have 3 planners and we work all over the coast. So it could be that we have 1 or 2 a month. The goal would be, yes, to have 4, but we don't do a Friday and a Saturday wedding. I don't work my team that way. So we have a Friday, we have a Saturday wedding, and we take Thursday through Sunday for that one wedding. So at this property, we wouldn't be able to host more than 1 at one time. I just don't believe in working my team like that. But for the live band, I did take the measurements, and this is obviously from Google Earth. I'm not a survey company, but I did take the measurements of how close, where we anticipate having the venue, which would be where the band would be located, to the closest neighboring property that is a actual property and not just a piece of land. So the closest home to where we would actually host from, the closest neighboring residential property is 156 yards from the actual property line, not where we would be hosting the wedding. That's from the property line. It's 248 yards from the proposed site of the venue. So that's where we would have like the current structure is now. And then the second closest neighboring property is 245 yards from the property line. and 349 yards from the proposed site of the actual venue. So we're at least 300 feet in either, or 300 yards in either direction from the closest neighbor. And then we obviously will be next door now. We also don't allow our weddings to last past 11 o'clock. And so we would follow the noise ordinance as it is for whatever the recommendation is. If it's that we have to follow R1 and it has to be a certain decibel by 10 o'clock or we have to be shut down, those are the things that I get to manage because we're there doing it. We won't host a wedding here unless we are physically on the property being the planner and the coordinator for that wedding. So it's a little bit different than just anybody can come in and rent the property. They have to have us come with it so we can manage those things in the moment as well.
I'm interested in hearing what the audience, if there's anyone who would like to speak for or against the application. Yes, ma'am. Can you come up and state your name and address for us?
My name is Renee. I live at 210 Bay Oak Drive, and I think it's a great idea. How close is it to the casino? So all of that's happening in that area anyhow. There's retail, there's dining, there's lodging happening right there. I think my concern, of course, would be the neighbors, you know, how they feel about it. And then you got to worry down the line because the neighbors change. So, but I think it's a great idea. I think that the casino's already doing it just feet away, and I think it's great. And especially out in that area, it needs to be developed. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience? Yes, sir.
Rita Warner on behalf of the Live Oak Registry. I have not gone onto the property, though I have driven past it. And I do know that it is very heavily treed. As you all know, I'm going to say, please do what you can to save the live oak trees. That is to say, if you're building anything, don't put anything under the drip line of the oak trees. And yes, take out the pine trees. They're not really good in this environment. But please do what you can with your current development to preserve the oak trees that are there. And I would encourage you to plant more.
Mr. Rappelin.
I believe 702 3rd Street. This is not the item I came for, but I can tell you what's being asked for is rezoning to commercial, point blank. No matter what it says on that paper, what I heard, they're asking to be rezoned to commercial. Unless, as Mr. Weber noted, if you want to change what you're asking for, you're asking to be a commercial area. So, I didn't come for this one, but I can tell you that that's not something that I would. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience for or against this application? I do agree. I think it's a neat idea. I think what is everyone's reservations is the amount and type of things asked for. It may be better to recommend just for what it's being asked for right now. It'll say just, it's multifamily and all that's in the retail, restaurants. I'd be worried about the neighbors and, like Mr. Rabelais said, bringing in a commercial venue when we're not there yet. Trying to see what I would take out or leave in. And then I don't know how you approach the electricity, generators, restrooms, things like that. Because of course you can roll them in and out now, but that would probably be the first step. Is permanent restrooms and facilities, and probably a commercial kitchen, things like that. I just don't know how to approach it, honestly.
I mean, just based on my conversations with Mr. Tommy and Mr. Ricky, they let me know what we have to do from a restroom perspective. One of the main reasons that we're taking the house next door is so that we can have, when we host guests for just showing the property, we have a place that we can call an office that we will have people meet us there. They have restrooms there. That's kind of the short-term immediate to get us through the next, 6 months, 8 months until we start going through our site maps and really developing what we'd like to do. I agree. Like I said, I have no interest in being a resort owner. I don't have the manpower, or my husband would never see me, and he barely sees me now. So if we can just do what we're asking for and what I know is what we need in the community, but also what is the next level for our business, I think that's just the wedding venue. Yes, there are some due diligence things that I have to do and work through, and I think that's what my next steps would be after getting, hopefully the approvals and the support is then now going to architects and engineers. And I know it's not going to be a cheap process. I'm fully aware of that. But that's kind of where I left the conversation with the city officials that I met with prior to this meeting. It's kind of knowing what happens next.
Yeah, so no matter what happens, we'd see a more detailed site plan as you go along.
Now, the guest cottages, I will say, that is more so that I know when you host a wedding, people like to know that they can just go to a place that is very close by. So that is something that I do think would probably be our next phase. We're talking, 6 to 8 little cottages that are one-bedroom suites. So that's the only other thing that I would say in the next couple of years would be my next thing to come for. But again, none of those decisions will be able to be made without getting the site map approved or full site plan.
I'd like to hear what some of the other conventioners' thoughts are.
We've obviously gotten bids so that I would know at least what this first phase looks like in order to get it ready for December. Yes. And so we've gotten those, and we have, we're very hands-on. So luckily, I have a husband that's very in tune with this type of thing. So I would love to save the structure. It just costs more to do anything with what's currently there than just to tear it down. But in the interim, if this is something that there's hesitations because of those, then obviously I can relook at that. I just don't think the structure itself is in good a shape as maybe it looks from the exterior. We've walked it, and I just don't know that it's something that could be salvageable. So to meet the goals, we have the timeline of what the clearing of just the pine trees. The oak trees are the reason that we're purchasing the property. The oak trees. But so those will be obviously kept intact. But as far as the timeline for us to be able to do the landscape, the entrance, get the structure removed, and the concrete pad, we're on track to do that as long as we finish the approvals by next week. So we already have all that lined up. The power was not something that I anticipated since it currently has power. So I think that's where I figure out what kind of structure has to be on the property, and is there another spot that we can, build an office to at least house our planners team, at least the person that's going to be running this space. So there's definitely ways that I can make that happen. It's just anticipating what that is. Nobody had brought the power. And since it currently had power, everybody was under the impression that that could be sustained.
I got a lot of questions, but I can ask you Tuesday.
And it's
I think elevation, I don't know where you're at on elevation. If you're at 9 feet, you got to elevate to 19 feet.
So the elevation certificate that Mr. Pitcairn has is very old. So before I go and pay for, all of those things, we're now going to closing on Friday for the property. So at one point, no matter what, Kevin and I will own the property. It's just a good price. It's a good piece of property. So regardless, we're gonna be there. If nothing else, we'll just be able to sit in a big piece of property and watch the woods. But yes, I mean,
The elevation will get you, plus your
full-
50% rule on the house will get you as well. You won't be able to rebuild the house if you go 50% value of the house. You have to elevate it as well. So okay, if you own adjacent property, there might be a power out. Honestly, food, parking is going to be an issue. Paid parking. Good
we
good
kind of
advice.
looked at it. We've done the parking. I did get a wetlands come out, and so we're good. There's one little back corner that is nowhere near anything that we're wanting to do, and then the very front right corner, right by Blue Meadow Road. Other than that, the property is no wetlands. So if you're facing the structure to the left is actually where I'll probably put the parking. Where on the site plan is where I originally had it, but because there is wetlands in that back corner, I don't even want to have to go through that mediation
That's
process.
not easy
So
for many,
we
many
just
years.
moved it to the left instead.
No matter what, however we vote tonight, you still get to see them next Tuesday. And we're just a recommend.
I think everyone's going to have a lot of questions because I'll be honest, I don't even understand the legality of all these different parts and pieces. Like I have personal concerns. Okay, we say guest cottages, accommodations. I don't have any parameters to stop those from becoming just a bunch of Airbnbs, things like that, because you own them, even though it's under, the umbrella.
Right.
Not that you're going to do that,
Right.
but
We have to anticipate.
Yeah. Things like that. I mean, if I was looking at it right now to move forward, if we were to approve, I believe I'd do it as just for an event venue and a single family home, and then maybe you can cross that bridge later on. Seeing how things go, maybe you get the elevation certificate, and that was my inclination is how is she going to do this because it's costing so much. Trust me, it's costing so much money
Right.
just to get to that base flood elevation. It wouldn't be feasible to do to invest in half these things because it'd be so expensive.
Yeah.
To
I am not a developer by any means. Again, my only thing was
it's not
I want to do
it's
a
not my
wedding
say
venue.
for
That it was just suggestions that they said.
I just
if
think
you're
looking in
asking
long
for
term
this-
of these things and looking out
Right.
for the best interest of the neighbors and the city.
Yeah.
That I think I would personally just ask for an event venue and single family for right now, and see if you can work out the details with that. But if there's no other comments or questions, I'll entertain a motion. Motion to deny by Mr. Agee, second by Mr. Osborne. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 So motion passes. It fails. You will come back for the next city council meeting, which will be in this room Tuesday, August 2nd at 5:30 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next application, I'm sorry if I say the name wrong, SHURLDS, application for special exception and variance to the zoning ordinance submitted by Henry and Virginia SHURLDS. The applicant's requesting a special exception to allow them to construct an accessory dwelling in the rear yard. The applicant will need a variance of 15 feet, resulting in a 5-foot setback to the rear yard and a variance of 2 feet, resulting in a 6-foot setback to the side yard. The property is located at 105 Bay Oaks Drive, parcel 161A-1-01-030.000, part 238 and part 241, fourth ward. The property is zoned R1 single family district. The applicant here tonight?
Thank you. I'm Henry Sherrills, my wife, Jenny, 105 Bay Oaks. Hope you'll find this far less complicated than the previous applicant.
I'm gonna get my phone number.
So, just to give you a little timeline, we bought our property on Bay Oaks in spring of 2016. We completed our retirement home in the summer of 2018. We moved here from Slidell full-time in summer of 2020. And late last summer, we met with our architect and our builder to discuss the idea of having a detached addition to the house to allow for my wife to have a personal art studio. And so we did some drawings, and the architect viewed it as an accessory structure because there's no intention of us to occupy this or convert it to a bed and breakfast or guest house, which strictly for art, and then the upstairs would be a personal thing. And so we took the preliminary drawings to Mr. Burke in December and met with him, and he's told us that in his view
accessory dwelling. And as a result of that, we would need to apply for a special exception, and any variances that we wanted to petition for, we would have to make an application for that. And then he also recommended that we meet with our neighbors, speak to them, and get letters of support if they're willing to do that. And so we took that information. I engaged Chinichi Engineering Surveying again to come out to do a full boundary survey and to represent all the improvements that we'd make to the property, so we would have the precise measurements. But back to the architect, he redrew based on that survey in May, and then in June we wrote the applications that you are now viewing for the art studio. And we're also asking for a variance because if you look on the drawing, you'll see we have a large live oak in our yard. It kind of frames our property. It's beautiful. OCN is registered. So it's built outside of it, just right side of the strip line of the oak tree. And we have 4 letters of support from our neighbors that we see
I'll
close
read them for
proximity.
you.
And so we really believe this will be a really nice addition to Bay Oaks, which is a lovely neighborhood. It will add value to property values. And with your endorsement and recommendation to City Council, our hope is to begin construction next year, sometime when our builder schedule. Happy to answer any questions.
I'm very sorry to hear about your architect, by the way. Very shocking news.
Sad, heartbreaking thing.
I have a few letters I'm going to read out and try not to repeat any of them. Okay. First one, please be advised that our neighbors, Henry and Jenny SHURLDS, am I saying your last name?
That's correct, yes, ma'am.
Have made us aware of the proposed detached addition that they would like to add to their existing home. We have been in contact with the SHURLDS and have seen renderings of the proposed accessory dwelling. Kristen and I are in full support of the addition. Our hope is that the BSL zoning department will provide the necessary variance approval for them to proceed. The SHURLDS are fantastic neighbors who are dedicated and meticulous in their efforts to keep their home in our neighborhood in pristine condition. I am confident that the addition will be of quality workmanship, thus enhancing the improvements for both the SHURLDS and our entire neighborhood. Please feel free to reach out to us with any questions. Thanks, Frank and Kristen Misurica, 107 Bay Oaks Drive. Dear Planning and Zoning Commission Chairman and members, the purpose of this letter is to express our approval with no objections of the subject proposal to build a new standalone structure on the adjacent SHURLDS property. The addition will certainly be done professionally. It is a complementary design and will improve the value of the surrounding properties. Sincerely, Riley and Jamie Woodham, 103 Bay Oaks Drive. Connie and I have reviewed the plans for your new addition on your property. It looks good and will be a great addition to our neighborhood. Good luck with the permitting process, and we look forward to its completion. David Friday. I think your additional building will be an asset to our area. It is one of the same design as your already beautiful house. I have no issues with encumbering upon the 5-foot setback. There is sufficient space in the surrounding area, and I presume that just as the location of your huge oak tree impacted the position of the main house, it now further impacts the position of this appurtenance. You have done everything to preserve that beautiful 180-plus-year-old oak tree, and it truly favorably impacts the entire area. To me, your oak tree is the premier oak of the entire area. I'm glad it continues to be a primary consideration in your building plans. You have my blessings on this project. Your neighbor, Alan Fuzzy Sanders, 106 Bay Oaks Drive. I received a notice by mail that the property is within 300 feet of the SHURLDS application for special exception by variances from the City of Bay St. Louis zoning ordinance for R1 structures and placements. I have reviewed the architectural drawings made available at the zoning offices. After due consideration, I object to the application for the special exception as a separate dwelling suggests greater than singular lot use, and traffic has already reached excessive levels. Parking restriction signs to prevent parking on public easements have already been posted along the road at 101 Bay Oaks Drive. Multifamily use with art studio's attention is not going to help with road congestion or noise. I recommend such multiple use should be located within appropriately zoned development zones. Sincerely, M. P. owner 1006 Breeden Place. Dear gentlemen and gentle ladies, in reference to the above-mentioned hearing, after reviewing the survey and plat of the SHURLDS property, I am opposed to allowing any more encroachments to surrounding properties. I'm surprised so many encroachments were allowed. I also believe there are code violations on the existing dwelling, and I am requesting that a code enforcement agent inspect the property. Article 4, Structure and Address Numbering, Section 12-83, Requirements upon assignment of address number 3 is concerning. All violations should be corrected or penalties should apply. I would like to view the flood management plans for the existing encroachments, which is required by Section 26-66, specific standards for riverine zone. Has a FEMA representative been out to inspect the encroachments and review the flood plan? Setbacks have a purpose. I am concerned that the encroachments that Mr. and Mrs. SHURLDS have been allowed violates the basic constitutional rights to quiet enjoyment of their neighbors. I urge the Commission to deny any more encroachments to the SHURLDS property. Respectfully submitted, Vera Medier, licensed real estate broker, Louisiana and Mississippi. Are there any comments or questions from the commissioners?
I stopped by there the other day, and I went by there in the golf cart. And I had, I guess, 4 or 5 neighbors come out, and I happened to have the packet with me, and said all them agreements were okay. And got one, I know 3 ladies and a couple men, and they were neighbors right there of you. They knew y'all, and I should have got their names. I didn't have a pen or nothing. I think that was 6 different people I'm talking to in that neighborhood. None of them have problems with it. They were close to me, so I just wanted to state that.
Not one person has approached us or opposed us or quite frankly, so nothing to support. We'll see, if you've seen our property, what we're proposing would be a replica of that. Professionally done. RC and zoning are out there, and that's where the construction is. We're being very transparent. We're not asking for anything unconventional or anything that I don't think is inconsistent with what we proved in the past. So we're hopeful for your endorsement this evening. Appreciate it.
Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak for or against? Yes, Ms. Medier?
Gentle lady. My name is Vera Medier. I reside at 210 Bay Oaks Drive. I've resided there for 30 years. I am a licensed, in full disclosure, I am a licensed real estate broker in both Mississippi and Louisiana. And in a little bit more full disclosure, I am the real estate agent that sold the property behind the SHURLDS to Mr. Michael Keach. Before I think that we could, as a resident of Bay Oaks Drive in our neighborhood, that is a beautiful neighborhood, I think that we should first address some issues that are already standing with the existing property. It's basically a zero lot line. The swimming pool is 38 inches from the lot behind him. I don't know if that's acceptable or not, but if the new person puts in a swimming pool, will they get 38 inches as well? And now, what's the problem? What's the plan between the two? So today we give Mr. SHURLDS and Mrs. SHURLDS a 15-foot variance, and tomorrow we give the lot behind him a 50-foot variance. So now what should be 40 feet between 2 properties is narrowed down to 10. We need a flood plan. Everything. All right, we'll start from the beginning. It's very confusing to everyone that you put out in the public. First of all, he's asking for something to go into the backyard. Can you tell me which is the front of their house? I can't tell. The address is on. So, if this is which is the front? This is the front. It has the front entrance. It has the exit. Right? Isn't that what the law states? And this is not the front. Is this the front? We gave him permission to build this house as the front. The address, since you gave him permission, has been turned, and they removed the front to the side of the house. So when you give us a request to put something in the back, which is already, you've given him plenty of variances, and he's about 5 feet from their property, he can't fit this structure on 5 feet. So, can we determine what is the front of Mr. and Mrs. Sherl's property before we could even put this out to the public? Can you tell me, anyone? Which is
Yes,
the front?
Mr. Buck went through this review process.
Which is the front?
With them, I believe they determined Bay Oaks is the front, 'cause it's
Okay,
the address.
so the address has been changed. It's not facing Bay Oaks, and
The address or the orientation of the?
I don't know.
Location of the house has been changed.
Okay, now,
The address.
architectural structure and address numbering, they're totally out of code. Somebody needs to go out there. I think that before we even consider any more encroaches on people's privacy, that we need to get some experts to decide. Right here. I don't even know where the front of their house is. Okay? The front of their house, to me, faces the beach. Because that's what the law says. And if it doesn't, it also says there's up to $100 a day penalty for hanging it on the wrong side. I just hope that we'll get a code enforcer. Now, on this survey that is presented to us, the public, and it's asking for setbacks, it's asking for variance for setbacks. It doesn't show any setbacks at all.
Have you seen the plans?
I'm going to get to that. It doesn't show any setbacks at all. So how could I determine
They're shown on the site.
that they're not what I was given? They're not. This is not. This is
Survey.
it.
It's a survey plat.
Now, encroachments, he's asking for a variance. If you've looked at the survey, you'll see that he's given variance everywhere on that property. It touches property all over. There's no space in between. Can we see the flood plan?
I guess I'm confused at how the previous variance is given, because the current structure as it sits meets all the
Yes.
Setbacks. No, it doesn't.
setbacks. Yes, it does.
Everything on the paper, everything he's got there, Matt, it is within, I don't know what you're looking at.
This is
Well, I did go look at
this
the
is
property.
13.7 feet.
Any other variances? He's built that
I
without
can't.
variances?
Yes, he's built all this without variances.
You missed something along the way.
I guess we did, I've been on here for 5 years.
How can a swimming pool really be 38 inches from the property line?
Yes.
It can be.
Yeah,
So we
it's the
could-
structure
Mr.
itself.
McCarthy could put one in there too.
Yeah, I wouldn't advise that he does,
But he could.
but he could.
He
Yes,
could,
he
he
could. Same way you can put a driveway right next to each other.
Oh, no. Now, woman moves in, is the family gonna move in, they've got 5 children.
Are you talking about Mr. Keisha's property now?
Mr. Property owns that property, correct. He has not submitted any plans for building. So, a family buys the property with 5 children. It's just not safe what you have done to those properties, piling them on top of other people's properties. There needs to be a flood plan. When a hurricane hits, you can call it a house, you can call it a dwelling. Sir, it becomes debris. Where's his debris gonna go?
Same place yours is gonna go next to him.
I have all my I have met all. I have 20 feet. No, his is not
It's
gonna
not gonna
go.
stay within that 20 feet.
Sir,
It's
I
gonna
don't
go.
think you're okay. So, in special flood hazard areas with base flood elevations, which are AE zones, but without floodways, no encroachments are allowed, including fill materials or structures shall be permitted, unless certification by a registered professional engineer is provided demonstrating the flood plan. Where's the
Yeah.
flood plan?
He's gonna have stamp.
But he
he's
doesn't
gonna-
have it now.
He doesn't need it right
So
now.
no,
He just needs
absolutely not.
a-
Until
for a
the public is
variance.
given all the correct information, starting with, where's the front of the house? You can't ask me to approve something in the back of his house when I don't even know what the front of the house is. Do you know where the front of the house is?
On Payson Street, probably.
Do you know where the house number is?
Says right there on the application. Doesn't matter.
Which one is the front of the house?
Which way you want your house facing? No, I'm asking you. You're asking me these questions. That's how I'm asking Mr. Sherlette.
Miss Medier, with all due respect, we do not have jurisdiction over any of this. I'm not a code official.
So you do not know which is the front of their house?
Yes, I do. I legally know. Bay Oaks is their address.
It's on this.
I don't know what you're showing. All right, Ms. Medier, if you can just speak, if you could just sum up your opposition to the project.
Mr. Schultz has suggested that he's spoken to the neighbors, and he has not spoken to me. He has not spoken to Mr. Keach, and he really should tell me which is the front of his house. I'm your neighbor, sir.
You're within 300 feet is what we're doing right now. I mean, you're welcome to speak. You're good. But I mean, we sent out the
Please,
300 feet.
do not insult my intelligence and tell me I'm not his
insulting you.
neighbor. I'm your neighbor.
Ms. Medier,
Whether I'm a neighbor
we're
or
not
not-
going to keep doing this. You can address us. You can sum up what your opposition is to the plan. Be succinct. Speak into the mic. It will go into the minutes, and we'll take it into device. You're welcome to
At
bring up
this
anything
point,
you can with the
neither
city
the
about code
council
enforcement, but
or
we have
the
no
owner
jurisdiction
of
over
the
this.
property will confirm the front of his property. And until that's confirmed, even the owner can't decide.
This has been reviewed by the planning and zoning administrator. He has determined what the front of his property is, what the front of his house is before it was presented for us, which is probably why they ended up doing this review and determining what the setbacks were.
Each
So
principal
that
building
aside,
or
do you-
structure shall affix and display the number assigned to the wall on which the front entrance of said structure.
If he fixed his house numbers, would you be for or against the
I'm
application?
absolutely, is there gonna be a flood plan?
Yes.
Can we
A
see?
fl-
okay,
what-
so
what's
why
your
would you
definition?
bring this out here if we don't even have the flood plan yet? Now, I wanna talk to the structure, which I'm totally against, and this gentleman brought this up actually.
Ms. Maddie, I'll give you 2 more minutes,
Okay,
and then we're going to wrap this up.
I should be allowed the same amount of time. So,
He took way less time
the
than
woman
you.
before him.
sent.
Listen now, please, I'm speaking. I have the right. I'm a public. That sign was put out for everyone public. Call me your neighbor. I don't care. You're my neighbor. And he should have, yes, Mr. Schultz should have a shed. It should not have walls. It should be only 490 feet. The reason being is just as this gentleman said, gyms and art studios are commercial. That gentleman said it here a minute ago. So we should not put gyms, art studios. If he wants a shed, he should have a shed. FEMA should be concerned. FEMA should be brought into this. When you can determine the front and the back of the property, then the general public can make a general decision. Thank you very much, and I'm so sorry that Mr. Schultz can't even tell me what the front of his house is. I can tell you mine.
Anyone else in the audience for or against this application? Yes, sir.
Keach. I have purchased the property at 1006 Breeden Place. And I'm an engineer, born and raised in Arkansas. Spent my career in Alaska. Currently in Louisiana. Traveled down here to this meeting because I'm concerned, being a neighbor, that zoning ordinances are there for a purpose. There's a reason to separate properties. And I am simply concerned that this property, the variance being applied for requires 15,000 square feet for apparently another dwelling according to your ordinance. And I guess the reason that 15,000 square feet is required is so that there's enough room to keep your buildings away from the edges. I don't know why you have 10 feet on either side of boundaries, or 15, whatever. But as an engineer, I understand it's for unforeseen circumstances. So as a property owner in this area, I am currently designing a house. We're trying to stay within all the boundaries. I'm, yes, asking that your need for unforeseen circumstances.
Thank you, Mr. Geach.
because of their condition, and the house was cited appropriately so as to preserve them. So at this point, what they are asking is they want to put her personal studio with her personal gym so that it doesn't impinge on the oak trees, and I'm in favor of granting. Thank you.
Ms. Nina? Yes, sir.
My name is Alan Sanders. I'm the owner of the property across the street from Henry Sherles, 106 Bay Oaks. Henry has gone out of his way to keep his house where it has least interference to this 180-year-old oak tree, which is the premier oak tree of Bay Oaks Drive. So his house had to be set a little off-center to accommodate the tree, which is why apparently Miss Didier doesn't understand that, hey, it's either that or cut down the tree, okay? So anyway, and also the street curves, so it's plausible to have a number on one side that the traffic coming before you make that curve, you can see the number. I mean, I don't see it as. I'm sorry, did I interrupt you? Oh, okay, good, thank you. Anyway, I don't understand what all this is, and I understand the whole reason why this here is big. If this were a shed, he could have it 5 feet from the fence line, as I understand it. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but for some reason this got noted as a dwelling.
I would have called it I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you, but I would have called it an accessory structure as well. I think what pushed it into a accessory dwelling was probably the plumbing. Because it has a sink
well, in
and a
other words,
toilet. But if I looked at it at first glance, I would have considered it an accessory dwelling as well.
Okay, I mean, if it were just a structure, I guess the way
Right.
I would urge that for approval of this, number one. But number two, I would urge if the full approval's not given, at least approve the location of this, because it has the least impact on that beautiful oak tree. My family's owned the property across the street since 1981. I didn't realize how big that oak tree was until Henry put some Christmas lights on there, and it just occupies the whole street. It's beautiful. You all ought to see it around Christmas time. I mean, it's great. And Henry has done everything, I think, by the book. I've known Henry for 30, 40 years. We're both in the oil field. We're both engineers. And I would urge everyone to approve this structure, be it a dwelling or be it a structure, whatever, or at least approve the location, so that, and then figure out the rest on whether it's a dwelling or whether it's a structure. Okay. And thank you for your time and your patience too. I can see where you probably need a little bit. Thank you, guys.
Yes, Mr. Radley.
Travel 702 3rd Street. I also own at 984 South Beach, which is directly in front of Mr. Sherrill's house. In front of, not because my house is on Bay Oaks, is because of the way the street turns. And the front of the house has nothing to do with what he's asking for, quite honestly. The only reason you guys are even having to hear this is because somebody got a little overzealous in how they designated an accessory structure. We're going to call this an accessory structure because it has plumbing. And every pool house, none of y'all have pool houses. I happen to know some of you do. No, you don't. I know that. But some of you do. Every pool house, not only does it have bathroom, it has a shower. A pool house could be used as a dwelling, yet it's an accessory structure. You can go down to Lowe's and buy a shed, 2-story shed. And he can put it 5 foot and 5 foot because that is not a variance. And guess what? He can run water and plumbing in there, and it's still not a dwelling. This should not even be here asking for a variance. And Amy, I appreciate, because I know you have, as a professional architecture, but this is not a dwelling. This is an art studio and a gym for personal use. no different from a she shed in somebody's backyard, no different from a garage somebody wants to put where they can park their golf cart because they bought a lot that's so small they don't have a place to park it. Not different from a storage shed that they buy. It's 5 foot and 5 foot is what the guidelines call for. And we got somebody in the building department a little overzealous in how they classify it. It's sad that y'all even have to listen to this. I strongly recommend that this be approved because what he's going to be put up is actually a big asset to that area. What Mr. Sherrills does is very, very well done. And there's no reason why he should not be allowed to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Redley.
The person next to me was denied a structure because it had AC. And at the time it was Charlene Black who sat me down and explained to me that when the structure is heated and cooled separately, it becomes a dwelling. And obviously someone could dwell in that building.
There's no other comments or any questions or comments from the commissioners? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we accept that application. Second.
Motion to accept by Mr. Breland, second by Mr. Romano. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Please be present at the next city council meeting, which is August 2nd at 5:30 p.m. Tuesday. Last application is Gillen. Application for special subdivision plat approval and variance to the zoning ordinance submitted by Gerald Gillen. The applicant is requesting to subdivide the parcel into 2 new parcels of land. Both newly created parcels will need variances of 25.71 feet, resulting in a total of 49.29 feet to the lot width. Parcel 381A-1 will need a variance of 3,600 square feet, resulting in a total of 6,900 square feet to the lot area. And parcel 381A-2 will need a variance of 3,601 square feet, resulting in a total of 6,899 square feet to the lot area. The property is located at 221 Citizen Street, parcel 149N-0-30-023.000. 381A, 3rd Ward, Bay St. Louis. The property is zoned R2, 2-family district.
I'm not the best speaker here.
Okay, if you could just state your name and address for us, and then tell us a little
Gillen.
bit about your application.
Gerald Gillen, 221 Citizen Street. Looking at other lots around, some on my side of the street are 35, which I think is small. Some are 40, some are right under 100. Across the street from me, they're 47. Talking to Tommy and Rick, he said if I do zoned R2, the double has to be under one roof. I'd like to have a place, my daughter have a place, but that just screams rental to me. So I'm asking for help to see if I can just put one cottage on each one and not have them tied together.
So that's the
with one
plan.
roof.
This is your personal residence and your daughter's personal
Yes.
residence. Are there any questions or comments from the commissioners?
Yes, I have a question. If we were to grant approve this subdivision into 2 lots, can you assure us that you will not come back and ask for another variance because a house won't fit on a smaller lot?
I promise you. And also, there's the ditch, and there's like 10 feet to the ditch. The main wide drainage ditch. Which I don't know if the people next to me own, but it's kind of like occupied too. And I know I can't build there. It's just I don't want to scream rental. You know, it's just you go down the street and they got 2 doors, and it's got cute cottages around it, and that's what I want to do.
Is there anyone in the audience? Yes, ma'am, Ms. Warner.
Live in the area, 417 3rd Street, Anita Warren. I have to oppose this because I am real tired of people coming in and buying large lots, cutting them in half, and then putting houses on them, which immediately then become Airbnb. It's supposed to be a residential neighborhood. It's supposed to be R2, which requires 75 feet. He's got 100. So instead of R2, he's now going to make 2 little 50-foot lots. The lot's 100 feet wide. If you want to just think at this point we have too many Airbnbs and VRBOs here, and we are losing residents. We just have a lot of people coming every weekend, and it's not fun when you live in the area.
Is there anyone else in the audience for or against this application?
Excuse me, I lost my place. There are lots across the street from the property that we're talking about, and they're only 47 feet wide, so I don't see what the big deal is. The 35-foot lot down the street, close to 3rd Street, is a lot smaller than what we're asking for. I just want to build two cute little cottages, and again, doubles, scream, rental, and they're ugly. Sorry, I hope I'm not offending anybody. That's it.
Going out across the street from the 32 lot, right next to them, 32-foot lot, and next to it was a 40-foot lot. It's like 49-foot lot next to it. They're all 200 feet up, 40 foot. Right there. So, yeah, well, you're bigger than the 4 lots across the street from me.
I mean, if I got to, I'll build a double there, but it just, we're not gonna be as happy with it.
This is sort of a general question, but if you're opposed to Airbnbs and you build by right a duplex, you just as easily turn a duplex into an Airbnb. So, to me, anytime you can put a single-family home on a lot rather than a duplex,
I would give up the R2.
well, yeah, so, I guess it's not a question.
I have the same thought.
It's a vacant lot.
I'm not for all these
No
Airbnbs
trees.
either, but you could do the same thing.
They're not impeding. I talked to all the neighbors. They're okay. All the immediate neighbors. There's no trees on it. Yeah, I would build it up. And it's just a cool little town. I have a summer home here, my daughter, and I don't want her screaming around. I have a daughter under one roof. Love them, but not that close.
Any other comments or questions from the commissioners? Oh, yes.
My husband and I own 218 Citizen, which is across the street, and we don't have any problem. He says that it's smaller lots all around.
Thank you, I appreciate your comment. Mr. Evelyn?
Mr. Ibley, I'm speaking now as the chairman of the Historic Preservation Commission. I have no dog in this fight. I do agree that I hate to see lots get split because we seem to have had several years of doing that to our detriment. However, that is your call. I would ask when you guys do decide, whatever you decide to do remember that you have to come to the Historic Commission because your plans will have to be reviewed. Oh, you have? Yeah. I thought I saw
Were
you.
you not there?
Okay. They've been there?
You were
Okay.
absent that day.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Evelyn. I'll entertain a motion if there's no other questions or comments.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the applicant subject to the fact that he's not going to come back to us for additional variance.
Motion by Mr. Radber to accept. Second by Mr. Osborne. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Please be present in this room next Tuesday, August 2nd, 5:30 p.m. City Council meeting. They'll have the final approval.
Thank you so much. Thank y'all.
Second to last, approval of the minutes from June 28th, 2022. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Agee. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Breland. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. The last one will be motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
Do what? I know Mr. Agee made it. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Weber. All those in favor? Aye.